That's what it's all about.
Speakeasy, yeah, speakeasy. You can say what you want and show how you feel. Oh yeah, speakeasy. It's all up to you to let your problems through.
Speakeasy for the autumn, and thank you for that amazing welcome. I'm Emma Forbes, and this is our Dr. Mark Salter.
Rather nice to be back, Emma.
And judging by the size of our postbag, you've missed us too, so there's no time to waste. Let's kick off in true Speakeasy style with our tricky question.
The moral dilemma.
Right, if you're all ready, we'll get started. What would you do if you were faced with this situation? A boy or girl you fancied for ages asks you out, even though you know they've already got a girlfriend or boyfriend. Would you decide to go out with them or turn them down? What a dilemma. Think on it at home whilst we find out the decision of our studio audience. We posed them our question a little earlier, and 77% said they would turn the date down, whilst 23% said they'd go for it. So own up, who said it would be an offer that they just couldn't refuse? Yeah, come on, that naughty 23%. Yes. Why did you think it was an offer you couldn't refuse?
So I think if you like someone and they like you, you should just go for it.
So what would you do about it?
Tell the person that she was already going out with that me and her like each other, and I'd just go out with her.
Do you think you'd feel remotely guilty about it at all?
No.
Has it ever happened to you?
Yeah.
It has? Well, come on, spill the beans.
No.
Oh, well, who else? Come on, who else put their hand up? Yes.
I think if it was me, I think I'd tell the person you're already going out with somebody, so I'll go out with you, but don't think it's going to go any further than me just going out with you to say something like to the cinema until you get your life sorted.
Would you feel guilty at all?
No, because who says boys and girls can't be friends?
Yes. You put your hand up, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, as long as you know what you're doing and everyone knows what's happening, then it should be okay.
That's it. But has that happened to you?
Yeah, I just got him to tell his girlfriend exactly what was going on. As long as she knew, I didn't feel that guilty about it.
How do you think you'd have felt if you'd have been his girlfriend?
I've been so angry.
So, okay, who thought that, no, they would turn the offer down? Definitely turn the offer down, without a doubt. Let's see. Yes.
I would say no, because they might do the same thing again to you. And if it happens again, you wouldn't like it.
No. But you just categorically wouldn't ever do it?
Well, I don't think I'd ever do it.
At this point in time, you wouldn't?
No, at this point in time.
Who else said no, they wouldn't?
Well, I'd put myself in, like, his girlfriend's situation. Because, like, whether he was to tell her or not, you still wouldn't like it. Like, if I was in that position, if I was his girlfriend. Because, like, you'd feel, like, used and stuff.
If he stays with her and he likes someone else, he's going to be no good to her, is he? And if it's not you he goes for, it'll be someone else. So in a way, you're doing her a favour and giving her a chance to get on with her life. And find someone who's not going to do that to her.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a situation
No,
like that?
unfortunately not.
Mark, this is a bit of a sort of naughty first dilemma. What are your views on it?
Well, if you're certain that other person really is going out with someone else, then, you've got a two-timer on your hands. And if you say yes to their offer, that means you're giving the okay to their two-timing. And it seems to me that if they can two-time someone else, that means they can two-time you as well. You see, a relationship's all about trust. It's not about deceiving someone. So what I personally do is what one or two other people have already said. I'd say no to their offer, but with the condition that if they went away and sorted out their business, in other words, dumped the bloke or the woman, I'd still be open to offers.
I think that's good advice there. Well, I wonder what you would have done at home. Yes, this is Speakeasy, the only show where you can talk openly about your problems, whatever they might be. Our main talking point today is rowing with your parents, and our star talker is Jet from the Gladiators. But first, a look at some of your letters that have come flooding in whilst we've been off air.
Post your problem.
The first one out of our letterbox is a bit of a different one for Speakeasy, but for a very good reason. It comes from a mum from Crawley, and she writes, Dear Speakeasy, I'm sure I speak for a lot of parents on this. I have a 15-year-old son who I realise is addicted to computer games and has changed from a bright, cheerful child who was always good at school into a moody, aggressive boy who's slipping behind with his work. I'm at my wit's end because he comes home, goes straight up to his room and plays on his computer for hours on end. If I try to get him to do anything else, he flies off the handle. I've threatened to confiscate the machine, but that makes matters worse. Well, who here could be that son? Who here thinks that they, you know, basically are seriously into computer games? Yeah? What about you? Are you?
Well, yeah. I used to play them quite a bit and that. And, yeah, you do get pretty aggressive when you're playing them and that.
When you say you used to play them quite a bit, how many hours a day are we talking about?
Well, it used to be a couple of hours a day or something.
And what was sort of so great about it? What was the...
I don't know, it's just things they get addictive and that, and just think you're playing for 5 minutes and then it goes on and you just can't get off them.
You said a little bit earlier you got aggressive, so can you sort of relate to the mood changes in that?
Yeah, if there's mates around me and something happens and they laugh, they're going to get a smack.
And you, next door, you put your hand up as well?
Yeah, same as him. Like, if you can't get past a certain bit, you get really irritated.
Did it affect your school life or your social life?
Yeah, school life.
In what way?
I never used to do my homework after school. Used to do it at lunchtime in school. And now I've, like, dropped my grade and I've just finished my exams. The computer's broken now, so I've had more time to revise and I've done better this year without the computer.
Do you regret sort of getting so addicted to it?
Oh, yeah. My mum's selling it now.
Yes. Did you put your hand up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? What happened to you?
Just get addicted to it.
What's your sort of maximum time you've played for?
About 4 hours.
Really?
I don't do that a lot, though.
How do you feel at the end of 4 hours playing?
Tired. Eyes start hurting.
Yeah. What about the girls? Because we've got lots of guys who love it, but what about some girls who mad, other than me, who are mad about playing things like... Yes, you've got your hand up.
I think that people should use computers as a form of entertainment when they're bored, not as a part of everyday life, because it is addictive. And like when we got our computer, Mum said you're not allowed to play with it for more than about 3/4 of an hour to half an hour. So like we only play it not very often, like only at weekends if we're bored. But it's not like a part of everyday life, like we have to play on it for a certain amount of time every day.
Yeah, who else got their hand up? Yeah, what?
I used to play computers a lot with Michael. I used to play them like all day and all night, and at the weekends, same. But then my mum and dad started having a go at me, telling me I should be out like all other kids. So now I go out and I never play it unless like it's with my friends. So now they complain at me for going out too much.
So, I mean, how does it make you feel when you're actually playing and everything?
It's just an adrenaline rush. Like, if you're playing a shoot-'em-up game, then like, you want to get to the next level. If you're playing a beat-'em-up game like Street Fighter or something like that, you just want to beat each other up. Like, sometimes it gets a bit too violent. Like, if one of your mates beat you, you start beating them in real life.
Did you really beat people up like in the Street Fighter cop things and things like that?
Sometimes I still like start cussing people if they beat me. Like, me and my mate were playing in the arcade once, and he beat some kid, so the kid just turned around, and then he just smacked the kid and knocked him out.
Do you think then that computer games are too violent and can cause trouble?
I just think the people that play them sometimes get too violent. It ain't the fault of the games. You shouldn't let yourself get too carried away with it.
What advice would any of you give the mum who's written in, who's obviously very concerned about her son being incredibly addicted? Yes.
Yeah, try and cut down the amount of hours he's playing. Maybe just say to him, instead of playing 2 or 3 hours, if you play for an hour and then maybe go out with your friends.
I think maybe she should have a word with his friends, you know, because they might be able to get him involved in some, you know, outside activity that would sort of get him off the addiction.
Well, let's ask Mark here. Mark, is being addicted to computer games really such a big deal?
Well, it can be, yes. I mean, as we've already heard, if you're so busy playing the computer game you never get around to doing your homework, your school life's going to suffer. If you never go out with your mates, your social life's going to suffer. And if you never talk to your parents, well, your home life is going to suffer. And it can affect your physical health too. Because if you play computer games too much, they can give rise to strain injuries of the wrist, as we've heard, sore eyes and headaches. And 1 or 2 people have even had epilepsy triggered by flickering of the TV screen. That seems like a very large price to pay just to save a few lemmings.
So what can they do?
The best thing to do is say, if you reach a personal best on the machine, say, OK, I'm going to stop there. Be happy with what you've got. There's no need to go on and on and on. If you can't do that, then set a time limit. You could put an alarm clock next to the computer. In the long run, it's really just like kicking any other habit. It's about willpower. Difficult at first, but always worth it in the long run.
Finally, what about a quick word of advice for our mum from Crawley who wrote in?
Well, maybe you could do what that girl suggested earlier on, try and encourage him to get involved in other things. But if that doesn't work, then as a last resort, you've got to make the guy an offer he can't refuse. Try good old-fashioned bribery. Every time he reaches his time limit on his game and keeps to it, you give him something towards the purchase of the next game. Try it.
Good advice. Well, good luck to our mum, and I just hope your son was watching too. That's it from our first postbag of the new series. Keep those letters coming in. The address is Speakeasy, LWT, London SE1 9LT.
Star Talk.
Now, she's tough, she's rough, she's strong, she's sexy. She's Jet from The Gladiators. And looking at her now, you would never guess what she went through as a teenager.
At the age of 14, I developed anorexia nervosa, which is the medical term for an eating disorder whereby you actually inhibit and resent any food going into your body. You basically build up the determination and the strength not to eat. Dancing, in my eyes, was something where you had to be sort of fairly asexual looking. That's with no definite signs of what sex you are, straight up and down, basically. And I wasn't. I felt muscular and very ugly. I tried to cut what food was going into my body, but when I did eat, I'd probably eat a Kit Kat or an apple. And I feel pretty good about that. I'd limited myself to that per day. So I started getting dizzy, collapsing occasionally, and basically my body was rebelling against food that I finally did allow to go through my system. Psychologically, by the age of 17, I hit a real low when I decided not to take my own life. I hadn't got that severe, but I actually contemplated what's the point? And that sheer despair and sheer will to think, I don't want to wake up anymore. I'm tired, I've had enough. I felt very alone. I felt so ashamed and so guilty about the illness, which is really silly, really, because it's nothing to be ashamed about. People get these problems. You go and get help. I came to terms with the problem through a conscious decision to want to get better. That's first and foremost. You've got to want to get better. I then went to 2 or 3 different sources for counselling. You can't do it completely on your own. You have to go and get help at first. And it hurts. It really hurts at first. It's hard to go back. In fact, I'd say the first few weeks of talking to somebody were worse than the 3 years before of the self-abuse. It hurt, but it has to be done, and you can do it.
Well, Jet is certainly proof that you can overcome an eating disorder, and I thought some good advice there, Mark.
Yes, and I'll have more advice on the subject of anorexia and bulimia when we tackle them in more depth in our next programme.
So don't miss it. But now it's time to tackle this week's main talking point.
The big problem.
And this is a problem we've had a lot of letters about whilst we've been off the air. So many of you and your parents seem to be constantly at each other's throats, causing stress and unhappiness at home. With me now is Laura, who's 13, from Buckinghamshire. Laura, what do you row about with your parents?
Well, everything. We don't get on, so everything we say always escalates into a really big argument, but can't do anything about it.
And how often would you say that you row?
A big row about once a week, but a little row about every other day.
When you say little rows, what are they about?
Well, when someone walks out the room before it really gets bad, but sometimes about once a week, you all get really upset with each other.
Do you think that the rowing has got worse since you became a teenager?
Yeah, because there's more things we disagree about now, and I want my independence more, and I want my views to be heard more, and he can't take that. He wants me to be quiet and listen to what he has to say. So
you obviously have a lot of rows. Describe to me a sort of typical day and and a row that you might have in that day?
Well, my sister rang me up and said, "Oh, can you get Dad?" And I said, "He's out." And she said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure, but I'm watching like TV and it's something I want to watch." And she told my dad, and my dad was really angry with me, and he was telling me that I was wrong and I was telling him I was right. And then after we've had that argument and we all get really annoyed with each other, we start on personal insults, and it just gets really awful until one of us just says, "Oh, I can't stand this," and walks out.
Have you ever stood back and looked at the situation and thought that perhaps some of the rows could have been something that you've actually caused, or they could be your fault even?
Yeah, I mean, they are. I mean, nobody else rows in my family apart from me and my parents. So, I mean, they're my fault, but I don't think that I don't think I'm causing them. I think it's what they do, and they think it's what I do, so.
So what's the situation and what's the point it's got to at home now?
One day they just turn around and go, "Oh, by the way, we think he's sending you to boarding school," which I'm not sure they really meant, but
How did that make you feel?
Well, unloved. I mean, it's like they think they're solving the problem by sending me away, but I think they just don't want me. You see what I mean?
Who else can relate to that problem?
When I started arguing with my mum, it started when I was about 13, and now I'm like 17, it's got really worse. I have to push her to see how far I can push her, like to get her going. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I want to see how wild I can get her and everything.
But why do you think it's got worse as you've got older?
I don't know, it's just that my mum's like got a really strong personality, and what she says, it's done. Like she goes, "I'm the boss," and this, that and the other. We mainly row about like going out, and she goes, "You're only 17, so you do what I tell you till you're 18. I go, "When I'm 18, I do what I like then," and sort of thing. Like I push her and push her.
Do you ever think that perhaps you're making it worse by trying to push her to the limits like that?
Yeah, I do, but I can't. I try to stop, but you can't. Like once you get arguing, it's really hard to try and stop. Like you're going on, and my mum will say something to me that'll get me wound up again, then I'll say something back, so it'll wind her up, and it goes on and on for ages and ages.
There's sometimes where I'm arguing, well, mainly with my mum, that it gets to the point where I'm arguing just for the sake of arguing. You know, you've lost the point of the argument, and you just, don't want to back down. I'm usually the one who sort of storms out. "Oh, shut up, leave me alone," and storm out. But
when you're having a row or you've had a row, does it make you very upset?
yeah, afterwards, because I'm thinking, why can't I just, get on with them? Because, I think in your teenage years especially, it's the time that you really need parents to be there to support you. So,
what about the girl next to you? Yes, what do you want to say?
Well, my parents and I, we're really three really opinionated people, and it's just kind of power struggles all the while. Like they have one opinion and I have another, and they find it really hard to see their little girl growing up. And, it's really difficult to stand there and see them take over your life. You can see that you're growing up, but they can't, because they still see you as their little girl.
And what about some of the boys? Because we've heard a lot from girls who row with their parents. What about some of the boys? Yeah, what about you right at the back there?
Yeah, I argue a lot with my dad. We're having an argument right now. Main reason is because he wants me to get my education first, and I used to always go out to basketball every single day. And I used to just start arguing with me. So one day we had an argument because I wanted to go out, and I kept on going out in and out throughout the whole day. So he told me to come in. I just started freaking out. So I swore at him, yeah. And he was ready to hit me, yeah. So I slammed the door next where he was coming in. I told him not to hit me because I'll hit him back. And since then, that was about 2 months ago, and since then I haven't talked to him.
Do you ever think that perhaps you're being a bit, not sort of seeing their point of view, or perhaps you should come to some sort of compromise over it?
Well, I don't like when I have an argument, and I don't like to lose, I always like to win, because if you lose, then that person's got the upper hand on you.
But do you not think that's a bit of a sort of negative attitude towards rowing?
It might be a negative attitude, but that's the way I am. I don't like to lose, mainly, unless I know I can't win.
If you could give your dad a message, what would you say to him?
I still love him as my dad. I care for him and all that, but I'm getting older and he's got to see my point of view. I'm not a little boy anymore.
Well, Mark's in the audience now with Cassie, who's from Surrey. She's worked out her problem with her parents after a very unhappy time.
Cassie, you actually went to the length of leaving home over a row, so things must have got really bad to get to that stage.
Mm-hmm.
But what were the rows about exactly?
It was just about me wanting to go out all the time, treating the house like a hotel, in and out all the time. arguing about what time I wanted to come in, and just basically ordinary arguments around the house.
What happened during an argument, though?
We just, shouting at each other, and it gets louder and louder, and then I start getting violent, and my mum starts round with me, and we just end up, crying and all that.
How do you think your parents felt about it all?
Well, just probably the same as what I felt. Wanted to sort it out, but couldn't cope with me.
So just how bad did things get for you?
Well, I ended up arguing constantly with my mum. We just totally clashed. I ended up leaving home and staying around various people's houses. Then I ended up staying at a friend's house for a month.
You left home, so what was it like living away from your folks?
It's horrible.
Was it easy?
I thought it'd be a lot easier. I thought, now I'm not home, no arguments, no rules, do what I want, but it wasn't like that because I had to abide by rules at the place I was staying at as well. And I don't know, it was difficult.
Now I understand that while you were away, a little bit of a misunderstanding crept up between you and your parents. What happened there exactly?
Well, my sister told me my bedroom had been stripped down, and I immediately thought, she wants to get rid of me, that's it, wants to take away all what she had of me. I got all my stuff delivered round to the house I was staying at, and I just thought that was it, that was the last thing. She's ruined my bedroom, but then I later on found out she'd redecorated it for me to come back for a fresh start.
So you mean you jumped to the wrong conclusion? Yeah. Right. So what happened in the end?
In the end, I ended up trying to make contact with my mum. At first she wasn't interested, she was still really hurt. And I just left it for a while, and then I phoned her up again, and then we ended up meeting each other, and that was it. And
looking back on it, how do you think the situation's changed now?
if there's an argument, we'll sit down and we'll talk about it, we'll sort it out. And if we start shouting and like raising our voices at each other, then we'll know we're doing wrong and we'll think about like what happened before.
Cassie, if I can just interrupt you, your home situation has obviously improved. What advice could you give Laura here, who's still in the throes of rowing with her parents?
Well, I mean, sit down and try and talk to them. If you can't get through to them, then, you know, perhaps write a letter, write it down and explain to your dad, like, why you feel unhappy and what's upsetting you, and perhaps, you know, by that letter he can do the same to you and write down what's upsetting him.
Speakeasy makes sense.
Mark, why is it so many people seem to row with their parents when they become teenagers, do you think?
Well, as you get older, you start to form your own opinions on things, so it's quite often you don't see eye to eye with your parents. You want to be seen as being a bit more independent, but your parents still see you as their little kid in need of protection. The puzzle is that although you want more independence, you still need your parents for one or two of the little things in life, like money, food, clothes, a roof over your head, and completely unconditional support for virtually everything you do.
What's the most important thing they should bear in mind then, do you think?
Well, if you want to be treated like a responsible person, you've got to act like one. It's no good just blowing a fuse and walking off in a sulk. I mean, that only reinforces your parents' view of you as an immature person.
Well, OK, then there must be a few tips we can give on how to actually diffuse the situation.
Yeah, there are, but the most important thing, perhaps, is if you feel you're about to blow a gasket, hold your breath before you do. If your parents say something that's really, really angry and really gets your back up, then try and count to 10 before you reply to them. Try always to negotiate, not in the heat of the moment when you might say something you regret, but later when things have calmed down. The most important rule, really, is always be prepared to back down and try and reach a compromise. And that goes for both parents as well.
Well, we have to be a bit honest here, though, Mark. Not all parents are perfect, are they?
No, that's true. I mean, if you've tried every single thing you can to negotiate a compromise and you've got nowhere, well, as we've heard, running away from home doesn't solve anything either. Now, the best thing instead to do is to call in an independent adult, a sort of a mediator, like calling in a referee, really.
Thanks, Mark. Well, that's it from this, our first show of the new series, but we'll be back next week with more of the problems you want to talk about. Don't forget that LWT has produced a free fact pack with information and help on everything we've discussed today. Details on how to get your copy after the show. Until we meet again, enjoy the rest of the weekend. Bye for now.
Bye.
When you got a little problem, don't keep it in. You gotta let it out, let it out. It's time for us to be your girlfriend or bullies at school, or people trying to make you feel like a fool. Speak easy, that's what it's all about. Speak easy, yeah, speak easy. You can say what you want and show how you feel, oh yeah. Speak easy, it's all up to you to let your problems through.
Here in the Speakeasy studio, I'm Emma Forbes and this is our Dr. Mark Salter.
Hi.
Let's get this show on the road, as they say, so get your thinking caps on as we set you this week's tantalising questions.
The moral dilemma.
And it's a goodie. Your best friend's dad has banned them from going to an all-night party that they've been looking forward to for ages. But they decide to go behind their dad's back and ask you to cover for them by saying they're staying over at your place for the night. Would you A, agree to be their alibi, or B, refuse to lie for them? As usual, we set our studio audience the question a little earlier, and 61% said they'd agree to cover for their friend, whilst only 39% said that they would refuse. Pretty interesting, huh? So who was in the minority and said that they would actually refuse to lie for their friend? Why would you refuse?
I mean, if you know, it's all very well lying from that, but if you lose the adult's trust, then next time they wouldn't let you go, so it's just a waste of time, really.
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't want to get involved because you'd lose everyone's trust because they'd always know that you'd lied before.
Right. What would you say to them?
I think I'd try and explain that I was sorry, and I would be very tempted to say that I would do it for them, but I don't think it'd be worth it.
Who else had their hand up earlier? Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't lie for them, because if they asked you to lie for them, they're not really your friends, because they're expecting you to do something you do not want to do. And once you've lied, that's it, you can't get back a lie.
OK, so who would cover up for their friend? A lot of you. Yes, why would you cover up?
Because I think it's important there's a trust between you and your friends, and it's really important. I mean, if you were any type of friend, you'd do it for them, regardless of who it was. I mean, I've lied loads of times for my friends. I mean, nothing drastic happens, and if my friend really knows how to look after it, or he really knows how to look after themselves, then, you know, what difference does it make where they are?
Say your friend had gone to a party and she'd had an accident or something had happened. Would you then feel guilty that you'd covered up and her parents didn't know where she was or whatever?
I think I would feel guilty, but at the end of the day, it's her life. I mean, if I can help her or him as much as possible, then I will. You know, I mean, if they get into trouble, then I will do my utmost to help them then as well.
Once we were going out to a party, and I told my mum I'm sleeping at her house, and she told her mum she's sleeping at my house. So but they didn't phone up. We went out and we both came back at in the morning, and no parents found out.
And what would have happened if you'd have got caught?
I probably would have got in serious trouble, but then I wouldn't really give a damn because I would have had fun in the night.
Has anybody else been in that situation of having to lie for a friend, cover up for them?
I was going to go up to some roof up North London, and I said to my mum that I'm staying at my friend's house. It was his house. And he told my mum the same.
Yeah.
And she believes it's easy to lie to my mum.
Not anymore. You tell me your side of the story too. Did you get caught?
See, the thing is, with his mum, like, she trusts me.
Oh, no.
She trusts me, but that day I felt bad. This is the first and the last time I'd ever do that.
And has it been the last time?
Yeah, it has been the last time.
It has. Would anyone actually grass up their friends? Is there anybody who would actually... Yes.
Yes, I would, because while they're there, they might get hurt.
You'd grass on them immediately, would you? You'd ring the dad?
No way.
No way. What about the girl next to you? Yeah.
If you do that, you'd lose that friend, and you probably lose many more.
Yeah, but as I said before, is he really your friend if he wants you to lie for him?
Well, now that is a good point. Do you think it's right that friends should ask you to lie?
Yeah, but they should ask you, but not with expectation.
Well, it's over to you, Mark, really. Should we cover up for a friend or not?
That's a tricky question. You see, if you refuse to lie for your friend, or if you grass them up, you're going to lose your friend. But then again, if you do lie and you get caught, well, you run the risk of being branded a liar. So instead, I try and find out why the dad put the party out of bounds in the first place. He could just be trying to protect his kid from a really heavy situation that you're dragging them into. I mean, could you live with that? If, on the other hand, though, it turns out the dad's just overreacted a bit, then I try and persuade my friend to talk things over with the dad, come to some sort of arrangement, like, well, for example, you know, coming home from the party early or a pre-arranged time or something. That's what I try and do.
Well, what do you think the right answer is at home?
Post your problem.
Now, our first problem certainly rings a bell with me, if you'll excuse the pun. And if you're always getting into trouble over the amount of time you spend on the phone, you'll understand how easy it is to get into the situation Mandy from Selsdon now finds herself in. And she writes, "Dear Speakeasy, I'm in big trouble. My mum's always having a go at me about hogging the phone, but this time I've really gone and done it. When we get bored, my friend Sue and I have been calling the 08 numbers like the horoscopes you see in the papers. What with that and all my calls to my boyfriend, my mum's got a bill for £242. She's gone mad and hasn't spoken to me since. I know she hasn't got the money to pay, so what can I do?" Well, I'm sure a lot of you must have come to grief over the telephone. Does anybody else here know what Mandy's going through?
Well, a similar thing happened to me where my cousin Jay moved to Australia. And he wrote to me and said, "I really feel lonely here because I don't have any friends and I'm in a new school." He told me all sorts of things like that. And then he said to me, "Is it okay if you phone me once a week or so?" And I said to him, "Yes, of course it is." So I phoned him once a week, and he used to say to me, "Oh, stay a bit longer, stay a bit longer." So I did. And then I carried on to phone once a day. And then it was nearly all the time that I phoned.
How long were you on the phone for at each particular time?
Could have been an hour and a half.
So this is what we really want to know. How big was that bill?
It's £2,001.
So what happened?
Well, when my mum received it, she was very, very upset, and she looked at it and said, "How am I going to pay this? Where am I going to get £2,001 from?"
Has it made you change your attitudes to the phone bills now?
Yes. My mum doesn't let me use the telephone.
So what has happened about this phone bill now?
Well, I'm paying it off with my pocket money slowly.
How much have you paid off so far?
Well, it was a year ago, and it used to be £2,001. Now it's £1,500. I'll probably be in debt for the rest of my life.
Who else? Yes.
The same thing happened to me, and when I was about 10 or 11, same thing as Mandy. I kept on phoning horoscope numbers and 0898 numbers, because it was a novelty to me. I like using the phone and pressing the buttons, really.
So what was your bill when it came?
About £180.
And what happened over it?
I wasn't allowed to use the telephone for about a year.
Who else? Yeah, you had your hand up.
Well, I used to phone up my fellow MCs, like rappers, and rap to them over the phone.
Now, you have to give us a demo of this.
I'd write a new one, and I'd tell him to him, like, so it'd be like, "Figgity funky, hip-hop junkie, lyrical monkey, come in a lyrical treat, I can get enough piggity props," like, and it would go on for about 16...
A round of applause. So how long did these phone calls used to last for?
Half an hour to an hour.
And what was the damage at the end of your...
About £400.
And what happened over it?
What happened? My dad threatened to take away the phone, but he didn't. I just cooled down for about a few months.
Have any of your parents come up with a solution to the problem?
Yeah, my cousin, she used to be on the phone for hours to her boyfriend. Like, when she started going out with him, she used to be on the phone for hours, and if he didn't ring, she'd ring him up, and then he'd put the phone down, and then she'd ring him again, and the phone bill went sky high. And then her dad went and bought a barcode that you put it on the little thing, like with a phone, and you had to have a key. And if it was turned off, you couldn't use the phone at all, only incoming calls, and that stopped her completely. But the phone bills have gone right down, and if you can't use the phone, she goes round the call box and the call now rings in.
What about you at the back?
My mum and dad have had the phone bill itemised, so if you're on the phone for more than 10 units, which is about 10 minutes, it comes up who we phoned, so they phone the number, and if it's one of my friends, I have to pay the money.
Definitely, that sounds like a good one, yes.
Yeah, my parents also had the calls itemised, and I think it makes you a bit more responsible for yourself as well. on your phone.
Why is it, Mark, when you get to that certain age, you do become hooked on the telephone?
Well, Emma, I mean, when you hit your teens, your mates become more and more important to you, you know? And that's why you want to spend so much of your time with them. If you can't actually be with them, then getting on the phone is probably the next best thing, you know? But whilst the telephone is an essential piece of equipment for your ever-expanding social life, someone's got to foot the bill, and that's normally your parents.
Yeah, and as we know, phone bills are very, very expensive.
Absolutely.
If you are hooked on the telephone, what should you bear in mind?
You've got to treat the problem before it becomes a problem. So what you do, you offer them this. Only make local calls, only make calls at cheap rates, and like a few people have suggested, ask for an itemised bill and offer to pay half.
How about some advice for very long-suffering mums and dads?
For the parents, I'd say get technology on your side. You see, the phone company can put an electronic block on international calls, long-distance calls and premium lines, and if things get really drastic, you can actually arrange to have a payphone installed. And for the parents that have actually been landed with a real monster of a telephone bill, then in the Speakeasy Fact Pack, we can give the telephone number of an organisation that actually looks into individual cases to see where they can come up with financial assistance.
Well, thanks for all your letters. Everyone will get an answer, even if we can't on air. So if you've got a problem, write to Speakeasy, LWT, London SE1 9LT.
Star Talk.
Today's Star Talker first tried to get into television when he was 10. 20 years on, he's made it, not only as a presenter, but also as a musical star, famous for donning his dream coat as Joseph at the London Palladium. Nowadays, Philip Schofield gets 5,000 fan letters a week. But when he was a teenager, he hated the way he looked.
I was tall and I was skinny and I was self-conscious and I didn't really like myself very much at all. If I looked in the mirror, I was desperately disappointed with what I saw. My bottom teeth aren't straight. You know, is that a big deal? Does it make any difference? Does anybody see them when you're speaking? No, but at the time I could have killed myself over these bottom teeth. I can remember, you know, like sort of grabbing my face and thinking, God, I hate you so much. You're such a horrible person. You look dreadful. I never discussed at the time the way I sort of felt when I was growing up, because I just felt stupid. I felt silly talking about it, but it, nevertheless, it was causing me, you know, a lot of anguish. I was terrified that people were talking about me behind my back. Really terrified. It used to bother me, and I left the room. I was convinced that the whole room was, you know, saying, God, what an idiot. I think you probably always think that it's a lot worse than it is. And if you're in your bedroom looking in the mirror and you're scratching at your face thinking, God, I'm a pig, you're probably not. There's not a massive amount you can do. But you can, the preventative stuff, you know, like try to eat the right foods, try to get a lot of exercise. But when it comes to looking in the mirror and hating what you see, that's pointless. And I think when I got a bit older, it started to fall into place a little bit, and it began to look, you know, sort of something like I could take when I looked in the mirror in the morning. I still look in there a few times, you know, after a long night, and I look in the mirror first thing in the morning and think, God, blimey, it's amazing what makeup can do.
It's funny, isn't it, how het up you can get about basically quite minor imperfections when you're young, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's worth remembering, though, Emma, that your body and your face continue changing well into your 20s, and normally for the better. And after all, it hasn't exactly done Mr. Schofield any harm, has it?
It certainly hasn't. Well, there'll be more Star Talk next week, and a laugh or two, I suspect, from Brian Connolly. But now it's time to tackle our main debate.
The big problem.
And today we're tackling a problem that's always controversial. Sherilyn is 15 and comes from Camberwell. She's experienced a lot of trouble just because she went out with a boy who was of a different colour. Sherilyn, tell me about Mark.
He's tall, he's got great personality, and he's fun to be with.
Now, he's white, so how did other people react to you going out together?
They didn't like it, and they started calling me names. They didn't agree with it, threatening to beat me up, calling me Bounty, and saying jungle fever and all this.
Was this people at school, or was this...
People in school and people out the public as well.
How did it make you feel when you get all these comments?
I felt well embarrassed, and I felt sorry for Mark as well.
And did this put pressure on your relationship, do you think?
Some ways it did, like, I got friends beaten up and everything.
Now, I know that you've sadly decided to break up with Mark. Do you think this was as a direct result of the pressure?
Yeah, some of it was, because his mum didn't like it. She didn't think it was right, me and him going out.
So she also put the pressure on, did she? Has it opened your eyes, do you think, to the whole sort of issue? Do you feel very strongly about that whole issue now?
Yes, because this other boy asked me out, he said that he's not worried about what happens to him, but what will happen to me, because all the threats I was getting from most of the black kids in my school. Like, they say now they're going to beat me up if I go out with another white boy, and if I keep going out with Mark.
It must have affected your whole life, didn't it, at the time it was happening?
Because none of the black kids would talk to me. There was only like a couple, but none of the rest would talk to me.
Were you surprised that it was just black kids that were doing it?
Yeah.
Well, has anybody else been in a similar situation to Sherilyn? Yes.
Quite recently, I've known a couple of black boys now and then, and two of them said to me, "How can you go out with a white boy?" And I said, "I don't think it's any of your business what I do, because you know who I choose to go out with is no business of yours." And they said to me, "How can you do it after all the things they've done to the black people in the slavery years and all this?" And I said, "That was a long time ago."
But how does it make you feel?
It makes me feel ashamed, basically, that people can do that. I don't agree with it at all.
Are there any couples here who are actually in a mixed-race relationship? Yeah. Can you, tell me about it. What was people's reaction to when you two started going out?
Well, you find out who your real friends are.
Like what?
A few black friends. You think they'd stick by you, by whatever happens to you, you think they'd stick by you. But as soon as they see that the girl you're going out with has got a different colour of skin, they've got something to say about it.
And what kind of things do they say about it?
They give you dirty looks. They wouldn't, like, just say you go to college in the mornings, they'd usually say morning or safe and things like that. But they don't chat to you anymore, they just walk straight past you. And when you say, "Oh, so you can't say hello now," they get vexed.
Did you get any bad reactions from other people, like on the streets or whatever, or was it just...
Yeah, like people driving past in cars. They don't stop and say, they just drive past and shout out things like, "Wog," things like that, and it gets to you.
What about your girlfriend next to you? Did you get any bad reactions?
Not really, but it does hurt when people in the street, like, they don't really say anything to me. I don't get hassle from the black people, like just black girls like give me dirty looks and stuff.
Yeah.
But it hurts when people shout things at him.
How have you both dealt with it? Does it affect your relationship? Does it put pressure on it?
It makes it stronger.
Yeah, that's good.
Because we talk about it, and we try to ignore the things that people say. Coming back to what she said about slavery, that was a long time ago. If you look at every white person and say, "Oh, 100 years ago, his ancestors were doing this and that to me," you won't progress. You won't go anywhere.
Who else here feels that perhaps after having heard about what we've heard about today, they would actually be put off having a mixed-race relationship?
I think it's really wrong to discriminate between two people just because they're of a different race, but unfortunately I know a lot of people who would, if I say I went out with a black boy, they would be sort of, they'd shun me and wouldn't talk to me and think it was bad.
Who else feels that they would have to think twice?
I'd have to be honest and say that I wouldn't, but I don't think it's wrong, but it's the way I've been brought up. That's where I am. I come from a really racist area, and if I did, I'd get a really hard time about it.
Do you think your parents believe that as well?
Definitely. I'd get an it's just the way that I've been brought up.
Well, don't you think it's about time you lived your own life and not your parents?
No, because...
Don't you think that it's about time you stood up for yourself and said, "Hey, damn it, I'm not going to let anyone tell me who I can and can't go out with." Colour is superficial. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter.
I wouldn't want to have a mixed race relationship. That's what it comes down to. And I'm being honest about it. I wouldn't want one, so...
Danielle, can I ask you a question? If you was to move somewhere which isn't racist, would you change your mind then?
No, because it's just there I feel.
Well, what about the boys? Would they be put off at all?
I suppose I would a bit.
Why then?
I'd probably get lynched, in bricks and that, going out with a white girl.
What about your friend next to you?
What my friends say when they see a nice black woman walk with a white man, they go, "What's that? What's she walking with him for? What's she making herself look stupid and that?"
Well, what about the rest of you?
I think if you love someone of a different colour or race, go ahead. It's fine, but you've got to be aware of consequences.
Yeah.
Because there's always someone out there who's going to threaten you.
Well, somebody who's well qualified to give advice on how to deal with the problem is Gillian, who's 15 from Charlton, and she's with Mark in the audience now.
Gillian, you were involved in a mixed-race relationship with Jay, weren't you? Yeah. Can you tell us what happened?
At Christmas, I started going out with Jay, and one of my friend's boyfriends started telling everyone, oh, Gillian goes out with an Asian boy. Gillian goes out with an Asian boy. So it got all around where I lived, everyone found out. And I was walking back from my friend's house one night and a car went past and they shouted out, Packy lover. I just thought, oh, God. About 4 times went up the road, Packy lover, Packy lover. Carried on. I got letters through the post calling me Packy loving slut. I got bricks chucked at my window, everything.
That sounds unbelievable. How did you feel when that was happening?
I was so annoyed because I don't know, these people, I'd seen them every day and I didn't think that they'd do that to me. I was scared to walk out my front door because I was getting threatened. They said they was going to beat me up.
So how did all this affect your relationship with Jay?
Well, it was he couldn't come up my house and see me. He had to get a cab. At first it was okay, it weren't going too bad, and then in the end it just got really bad and he couldn't cope with it anymore. He wanted to go and beat him up and stuff, and we was arguing over that.
So you bust up now, have you? Oh, that's a pity. Did it stop after you separated from Jay?
No, it carried on and on and on.
So what steps did you take to stop all this?
First I got in touch with the police, nothing, they didn't do anything. Then I got in touch with racial incident officer, took their addresses, went visited them. That didn't do anything, so I visited a second time and the ringleader of it all, he stopped.
Are you still in touch with Jay now?
Yeah.
And how are things between the two of you now?
He still keeps asking me out and saying, will you go back out with me, but...
Gillian, you've obviously really had to suffer for your relationship. What advice would you give to Sherilyn here and others like her?
Tell people about it. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't retaliate at all. Don't hit people or have a go back at them because it just makes things worse. They just carry on even more. Just don't bottle it up and speak to your boyfriend or that. Just don't stop going out with them because of them people, because once you finish going out with them, they carry it on. And so they've won the battle in the end. It's not worth it.
Speakeasy makes sense.
Mark, why do people still get so much hassle just because they go out with somebody of a different colour?
Well, I think it's an unwritten rule, Emma, of almost every culture that you stick to your own kind. It always seems a bit that way, and sadly it still is today. And I think what it boils down to is fear and ignorance of what you don't understand, and what you're frightened of, you want to attack.
So what should people bear in mind if they're going to embark on a mixed-race relationship?
You've got to bear in mind it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to be ready to put up with pressure from everywhere. I mean, in the street, from your mates, and perhaps worst of all, from the people you think you could trust the most, your family.
OK, then how should they cope with their parents?
You've got to understand that what your parents want the most is for you to be happy. So you've got to convince them that your partner is a worthwhile human being that you can be happy with. It's no good just declaring war on your mum and dad. Instead, you've got to use a lot of time and a lot of patience to convince them of the good thing that you two have got together. Then you've got to show them that you understand all the difficulties that still lay ahead, and that both of you are mature enough and responsible enough to face up to them together.
OK, then what about the problems that you might encounter with the rest of the world?
If, like some people this afternoon, you live in a racially sensitive area, then don't go looking for trouble in the sort of places where you know you're going to run into trouble. And another thing is, if you get hassle, especially from groups, don't confront and never fight back physically.
Well, what if things do get physical, like Gillian experienced?
Well, if it's got that extreme, then you've got to make a fuss. Call the police. Ask your neighbours to keep their eyes peeled. Check out the local council for their anti-racism policy. Join an anti-racial organisation. The bottom line is, if your relationship is worth fighting for, fight for it.
Thanks very much, Mark. If you want any more information on any of the problems we've talked about today, don't forget our free fact pack. Details after the show. Join us again next Saturday when Brian Connolly will be our star guest, but it's bye from me.
And bye from me.